Okay, let's start this week off with EuroJPY, okay? A lot of you have been asking me to map out EuroJPY, and I've mapped this out last week, and I am going to tell you once again, I think I just moved that, it's okay, I'll find my key levels again. But as long as the zone on H4 does not break, you can still use the zone, or you can use this zone for a sell and this zone for a buy, and the key levels are still very much valid as long as the H4 time frame is not broken. Okay, so starting with EJ, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but our buy zone's down here and our sell zone is up here. So if I screenshot that, what can EJ do? Once again, current price is in the sell zone. As long as H4 still continues to respect this zone, then it will potentially be selling down. But if one H4 candle decides to just close above this zone, then it might want to test a higher area or a higher zone. If the zone is broken, the price can either shoot up into the next zone in one go if the volume is high enough, or it can retrace back after breaking into the key level for a better buy up. Vice versa, if it decides to just drop down into our buy zone and respects it, then potentially we can catch a bounce back up. But if it decides to break below, then it might want to test a lower area. Okay, so after H4 closing or a new session opens, once the price has entered the zone, you may switch to M5 or M15 since we are using H4. So you can switch to M5 or M15 to monitor for a setup, whether it be EG meets EG, EFEG, or EFEG, or what you call it, ABCs or HLZs. Okay, so monitor for those setups to appear. Once it has formed, wait for it to form fully and completely, then you may press, and this will help lower your risk. Okay, so that's for EJ. Now let's move on to GU. We don't really have high impact news today on forexfactory.com, but we do have some medium level impact news, and it's on GBP pairs and USD pairs. So I'm mapping out GU in cases we can catch a potential buy over here or a sell over here if the volume decides to drop back down or even spike back up into these zones. So our sell zone up here and our buy zone down here. Why? Engulfing buy failed in the process of failing, created an engulfing sell. After breaking the zone, price came back, created the second engulfing sell. So ABC, HLZ, or your EFEG, EG, completed on H4. Then our buy zone, I did not mark this engulfing buy because the current price is within that zone. Okay, so I want to monitor for any movements that it can come down below for a better price. So for my buy zone, I've mapped out this engulfing sell that failed. Price came back over here, did not close within, but it did bounce, leaving wick rejections. Okay, so GU, what can it do? Let me screenshot that. Okay, if it decides to drop into our buy zone and respects it, then potentially we can catch a bounce back up. But if it breaks below, it might want to test a lower area. Vice versa, if it decides to spike up into our sell zone and respects that, then potentially we can catch a sell back down. But if it breaks above, then it might want to test a higher zone or a higher area. Okay, now that you know where to monitor for entry, where can your SL be? After you've entered, just count 40 pips from your entry, and that will be your SL for the currency pairs. Okay, now that's for GU. Last pair, USD/JPY. Okay, on H4. So we have our sell zone up here and our buy zone down here. I've marked this engulfing sell because it was the engulfing sell that was so strong. This H4 dropped all the way down. Okay, this H4 itself was 430 pips. So I am monitoring this particular engulfing sell for any reactions. If the sellers over here are still very much present, then we can catch a potential sell back down. Then we have our buy zone over here, which is an engulfing sell that failed. And when it failed over here, right? Price came back, created this first engulfing buy, and then price came back, wick rejections over here, poked the key level and flew. Okay, so current price is still within the void, but that's okay. We can wait for the US session to happen, but what can UJ do? Oops, okay, let's just leave it at that. So, UJ, if it climbs into our sell zone, since it is very much closest to the sell zone than the buy zone, so there is a higher chance for it to test the sell zone first. But that's not 100%, I'm saying potentially. So if it decides to climb up into our sell zone and respects that, then potentially we can catch a sell back down. But if it breaks above, then it might want to test a higher area. Vice versa, if it decides to just drop down by some news or some event that happened, then it drops down into our buy zone and respects that, then potentially we can catch a buy back up. But if it breaks below, then it might want to test a lower area. Okay, so now you know where to monitor for an entry, where your SL should be, where do you TP. Now if you're a beginner and you are not confident in the setups, or you're not comfortable enough to hold for bigger pips, just set your TP to 10, 20, 30 pips. Make sure your daily target or your daily profit target is realistic. Don't set something that is that puts too much pressure on you. Okay, if you are an intermediate trader and you like to add some more of the pips, instead of 10, 20, 30, you can do 20, 40, 60. And if you are an advanced trader, or you're pretty comfortable and you're pretty confident in your setups, then you can hold from zone to zone. So this really depends how many pips the zones are. Some can be 40 to 60 on H4, some can be 60 to 100. So it really depends. But if you are those kind of traders, once you enter, you can set some of the TPs as marks to TP a percentage of all of your entries, and then the rest would just be right above or right at the next zone. Okay, so that's for UJ, and that's for all the 3 pairs. I'm still getting to all of your messages. My Telegram has been glitching very much, but don't worry, I'll get to you. Okay, talk to you soon. Bye.